space, and she has specialized in in working with children, young adults, teens, preteens, and also working professionals. Today she's with us to talk about peer influence and its effects and how it affects us and young minds altogether. For all those who are watching, we have our chat box and you can send in your queries while the session is on. And towards the end of the session, Dimple will be, after giving us a complete walkthrough on peer influence and how to navigate through peer influence. She'll be taking additional questions in the last 15 minutes. In case we are not able to answer your questions today, you can write to us at the learning lobby at practically.com, and we will revert back to you with responses from Dimple. So over to you, Dimple. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Learning Lobby. It is a privilege to have you and to have you talk about, a very important initiative, which is emotional and mental well-being. We definitely want to understand the exam time is nearing. This is the time when children are going to go in for summer holidays. There are so many activities that their parents have lined up. Also, slowly and gradually, things are opening up for children, right? So they're balancing a lot of emotions at this point. But something that is extremely important for them is to understand peer pressure or peer influence, as we call it, which is not always bad, but also at the same time it can dilute their individuality in their formative years if they do not have the right guidance. So we are really looking forward to your session today, and we're looking forward to understand more from you. So we have parents, we have teachers, and we have students who have logged into the session today. And they'd like to understand from you more on, how can we navigate through this in our current times? We are living in such actively connected times that, we are always on. So what is it that they can do to navigate? How do they subconsciously get affected by their peers? And also at the same time, is there a way for them to ensure that, is there a mechanism to switch back? Is there a mechanism to cut off from what's happening around them when they're not, when they're not in the scheme of things? So I'm pretty sure a lot of questions will come your way, and it'll be a very, very exciting session. Thank you once again for taking out time to be with us today. And over to you.
Thank you, Vinita, so much for this wonderful introduction. And I'm so glad and excited to be a part of Practically. The whole idea that goes behind the development of a child holistically is such a brilliant initiative. So yes, we'll be talking a lot about peer influence, about how they can affect us. And so I'll start presenting the presentation and we'll take you forward from there. Okay, so today we'll be discussing a lot about peer influence. As we all know, peers are our friends that we have in our daily lives. We'll see how their influence can affect us emotionally and mentally. Okay, so the objectives of today's entire session is going to be about how crucial peers play a life in how crucial part they play in our lives, right? Especially in adolescence and in our teen years, right? And how they can provide us a positive and a negative influence both as well, right? And to understand how influence of peers can affect us later in our lives also, right? We'll even look at how if the influence now can affect our adulthood as well. We'll even learn how we can have effective ways of dealing with peer pressure. We'll talk about some tips here as well. Okay, so the significance of peers, as we all have friends, right? And we all believe that they help us to form our identity. Usually at this stage, we know that, our peers and our friends become the most important. We end up confiding in them more. We do not talk to our parents about it. We do not talk to our teachers about it. For us, our friends become the most important, and they do help us in forming our identity. Like say for example, your friend tells you that, this BTS band is so cool. You might go back, end up watching BTS, and even you will like it. So it becomes a part of your identity as well. So they even assist us in difficult situations, like say sometimes our subjects are not going well. We may perform a little poorly in some subject. They will sit with you and help you to assist they assist you with these difficult subjects as well. They even help us to form our social skills, about how to communicate with teachers or how to communicate with parents, how can we be a better speaker, or things like that, right? They even provide us with significant support, right? They do that with us, how socially and emotionally. Sometimes our friends will support us when we're feeling too low, or we're feeling too emotionally exhausted, feeling sad about something or angry about something, and they give us a lending ear, right? And they give us constructive feedback when needed. This is so important, right? Because sometimes we may do something to somebody, do some wrong by someone, but your friends are always there to guide you, to tell you that, you know what, hey buddy, this was something that you did wrong, and they give you that constructive feedback every time when needed. Okay, so let's look at internal and external factors as well. So we have different kind of friends, right? Different type of friends, age group. Your similar age group will be your set of friends. You'll have common beliefs with a friend also. Say you believe in something and they believe in the similar thing, you automatically become friends together. Sometimes even common problems lead us to becoming friends together. Common interest as well. Say that you have joined a swimming class and you have met somebody there who is also joined for swimming classes, so you will have a set of friends who is even have common interest. Then to look at how the community, our complex friends that we call it, building friends, complex friends, school friends, and of course location friends also. So these are our different type of friends that we all have. Now let's get to the topic about why do we suffer from peer pressure. Now, what do you think peer pressure is? So peer pressure is something that we say a friend tells you to do something, and vice versa. You also tell them to do something, and sometimes they pressurize us to do something which we do not want to do. Like say for example, uh, uh, you had a fight with a girl in the class, one of the classmates in the, a fight with them, and your friend tells you that, how about we do not talk to this particular person, and we all end up avoiding we all make a group and we start avoiding that person. And maybe you do not want to do that, but you end up doing that. The only reason is because even we want to feel accepted, right? We want to feel belonged by our own peers. That is the only reason that we suffer from something called as peer pressure. We will even we'll talk about this at length, and as we go forward. Now, as you all can see this slide, it speaks about positive influence. We all understand, we all believe that we have a certain amount of say that positive influence from our friends. As you can see these two beautiful images here, how friends can, if you see the first image, it talks about the girl is actually motivating her, giving her a hand and saying, hey, hi, let's just, even you come along, I will be there to hold your hand. And the girl, the other one who's standing down, she's in a question mark thinking, maybe I can't do this. But the friend who's standing with her is telling her, I'll give you a hand and let's come and join some new experience. So we may learn something, and we may have a very new experience with them also that you might have not even thought about doing because of your positive influence by your friends, right? They even inspire us with positive outcomes. Say that, say you want to participate in the annual day coming up and you want to speak there, but you're so nervous about doing it. Your friends may actually motivate you that, what, you really speak well, we'll train you, we'll do mock runs with you, we'll do everything with you, and we may have a positive outcome, and everybody after the annual day gets over, they praise you for doing such a nice work. So yes, they even inspire us, and we do have positive outcomes as well. They offer us moral support a lot of times, like, when as you can see the second image where it says that you can do it, you keep trying. They keep us, our moral support is always there. They're always there to support us morally also. However low we are feeling, they will support us, motivate us, inspire us so that we can go forward, right? Motivate us to achieve our goals. They all do that, right? Sometimes we want to achieve something in our lives. Say that we want to get out of our comfort zone and join a singing class. and they'll always be there to motivate you till you don't achieve that goal, right? And sometimes we have these bullies in class as well, where somebody is teasing you about something, somebody is shaming you for something, but your friends who are there, they will actually make you firm and tell you to stand against them as well, and maybe even support you to stand against that bully, right? And a friend can even have somebody who respects your boundaries. Now, boundaries are something that we all form to protect our own self. Say that you are a person who likes to stay indoors more than going outside, and your friends who are going outside will not force you that even you come out. They will actually respect it, saying that okay, you like to stay at home, we'll someday come to your house and maybe have a night over, but it's okay if you can't come out. So they respect your boundary, right? So that is something that we all need to understand, how a positive influence can make us more confident. It can make us feel so respected as well, and it makes us believe in who we are. Yes, it can also have a negative influence as well from our friends sometimes. Sometimes our friends will, shame us, or they will ridicule us for our own choices. Sometimes you may like something else, but your friends may, shame you for what you're wearing, or, they may comment on your body, make a meme out of you, or things like that. And we personally do not like it, right? So sometimes that also happens, right? They even force you into things and that are against your principles. Some things you may not like to bunk school, you may not like to bunk college, and they would force you to do that, and that is when it goes against your principles, right? So it gets into being negative influence from our friends as well, right? And because of all of this, what happens? We can develop some bad habits, we can develop some things that we do not want to do, but we end up doing because obviously we are humans and teenagers who want to feel accepted in the cool gang, who wants to be accepted in the peer belongingness, right? We all want to do that, but to know that when it becomes positive and when it becomes negative, the difference between the both is so important and so crucial in our lives, because it can define us, right? And our self-confidence of doing something or being someone because you think something else. Say you think about red is your favorite color, but everybody is wearing black. You may not start liking red, and your confidence will actually start dipping in every decision you take in your life, thinking that I'm not good enough, right? They even dismiss our values. And what happens when they dismiss our values? We start feeling so, out of the place. We start feeling that, okay, maybe what I believe or maybe what I value is not important. And maybe I am thinking wrong. And all of these things keep, in our mind. Everybody starts laughing at us, and then we start feeling okay, so maybe I have to set up my own, and I have to become what they are doing. And in that entire process, we start shaming our own selves, right? Let's look at how peer pressure, it even affects our performance sometimes, right? Our academic performance. The more pressure we feel by our peers and friends, the more it affects our performance in school, right? Sometimes it's such a powerful force because everybody is doing something, and you are the only one. Say that, for example, everybody is bunking school or everybody is bunking college, and you're the only one who wants to sit in your favorite class, and maybe you have a favorite subject, and it affects our academic performances. Then we end up thinking nobody likes me or nobody wants to be with me, and every day that keeps running in our head, right? And when it keeps running in our mind like that, like a background music, it keeps playing in our mind so much, right? And it ends up affecting our academic performance because we do not study, we don't want to talk to anybody about it because it's constantly on our mind. So it affects our performance in academic, right? It can even affect our educational choices and career. Now, especially after you finish your 10th or you're finishing your 12th, at that time is sometimes, say you want to do something in pursuing your, say, photography. You like to become a photographer and you want to choose arts, fine arts. but you are and everybody else is choosing, say, media or mass media or commerce, and you look at, okay, everybody is choosing that, and your friends may end up telling you, "Oh, this field is not so good," or this field will not provide anything to you, and you will end up choosing what your other friends are also choosing, and that may actually affect your career also, because in the end, when you start working, you're not going to like where you are. You're going to feel sad about going to work every day, and then in the end you'll think, "I wish I was doing what I wanted to do." Right? So it peer pressure can even affect our career choices and our educational choices, so be mindful about that as well. Right? It increases our stress levels, right? And as we've been discussing, how it can impact our mental health, right, which can cause low concentration. It when peer pressure exists in us, and when it's in us, we start feeling that how much maybe I am not good enough for my friends, and we start doing what they want us to do, and that stress in turn makes it like a it impacts our mental health so much, because we keep thinking about that stress. We do not feel like going to school anymore, we do not feel like going to college anymore, and all of that, it impacts our mental health, and we start feeling low in confidence, we start feeling anxious, do not want to attend classes anymore, and in turn what happens, our concentration level goes ekdam down. Why does that happen? Obviously, when our mental health is so occupied in something, there's constantly something running in our minds, there is a possibility that our concentration levels will go down, because we can't focus on anything else but think about what is happening around us and the friends that we've chosen, right? And sometimes, say, peer pressure can even lead teens in wrong direction, like consuming alcohol. Some friends may tell you it's such a cool thing to do, everybody's doing it, let's drink, or let's smoke a cigarette, or let's do drugs. And because they say it's a cool, people want to drink or cool people want to smoke, and they will force you to do something like that, right? But that could risk your health, right? At a age and at teenage, it's something such a risky behavior that we are taking by consuming some things like that, right? And by a negative peer pressure can lead you to that. So to understand that, when is the time to say yes and when to say no, and things like this, to say no, right? And it can help you to understand who are your true friends and who are not your friends, right? Further, we'll even discuss about how we can have these small tips to uh, manage negative peer pressure as well. Here it is. It speaks about, say, tips to handle peer pressure. We have to recognize unhealthy dynamics, as we spoke in the previous slides as well. Is my friend respecting my boundaries? Are they shaming me for who I am? Once they start doing that, that if I have to, is this is an unhealthy dynamic, am I scared of my friend, am I pressurized by my friend to do something because only they want to do that? That's when you recognize these unhealthy habits dynamics first. Okay. And it's okay to, second is, it's okay to even make an excuse. You can make a random excuse saying that my mom is not letting me do it, or I don't want to do it. Make an excuse that you can actually exit from that pressure. Then avoid the situation completely. You can, maybe sometimes when they're pressurizing you to do something, maybe you can behave as if you never heard it, or you can avoid that, you never knew that somebody was doing like that, so you can avoid the situation also. Then, to be firm, this is something very, very important. To be firm says that, when you lay your ground rules, that this is something that I will not do, that means I will not do. So to be firm in your decision, to keep a stand, and to be a stand there what you've decided. Okay. So then, to have friends with similar values, there will be friends in the class, or in the vicinity, or in your other circles, that who will support you, right? Who will have similar values like you, who wants to have a career, or who understand what peer pressure is, who does not like that, how negative peer pressure can play for them. So how, by having friends who have similar values, can help you to not stay with people who are actually trying to pressurize you into doing things that you do not want to do. Then you can even have something called as polite refusal. You can even be polite to the person and say, hey, you know what, I do not wish to do this, and I do not plan to do this, so how about, please don't force me into it. It can be a polite refusal as well. influences also, you can even make a study group with the ones that are interested in the same field. Say that now in your classes that you'll have somebody who's interested in science, or somebody's interested in maths or different languages. You can make a study group and study with them, share notes, or make placards which can help you to form that study group, and in that study group also have different activities that can help you to stay engaged with the subject, right? Then you can ask advice from your support group as well. Your support group, your friends, who you can ask advice from them. If somebody is pressurizing you, always go back to your support group, your friends. You can speak to your teachers about it. You can speak to your, if you have a school counselor, speak to them about it. Speak to your parents about it, which can really help you. They will really advise you in the right direction. They will always want that something that happens for you happens for the best. So you can always ask advice from that support group as well. Okay. Then it speaks about how we can even be very firm about saying no. And I know sometimes saying no makes us feel very guilty. It makes us feel that, okay, if I say no, nobody will like me, I will not be likable anymore, I have to say yes for everything. But what happens when you say yes for everything? It gets super exhausting, right? Because you do not have time for your own self. Time for yourself could be simple drawing, or you could want to listen to music and go back to bed. But you're so exhausted by saying yes to everybody that you have no or little energy for your own self. So saying no, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. So we have to learn to say no as well when somebody is pressurizing us for something. Then use a buddy system. You can always walk with your friends when you know somebody is pressurizing you in some class. You can always form this buddy system where your friend can be there with you when you get pressurized. So you can always tell your friends, you know what, this group of people are trying to force me into something. And you can always form a buddy system and be with your friends who are getting affected by this, right? And even evaluate your friendships and look at if friendship, somebody who's actually your friend, who really wants your good, who's actually motivating you and inspiring you to do better, or a friend who's trying to shame you or ridicule you for who you are. So to evaluate this friendship is very important in our lives, right? And if you think that my friend circle is full of people who are pressurizing you, find new friends, somebody who respects your boundaries, somebody who respects who you are, and that will take you in a long way in your life as well. Okay, let's look at what is this identity formation at this particular stage. Usually, at adolescents and teenagers, we get influenced by our friends, right? And that is what forms our own identity, because major question at this stage is, who am I? Who do I like, or what do I do, or what do I like, what do I want to become? Am I an adult or am I a child? All that confusion is there during this stage as well, right? Because acceptance by peer group, it becomes the most important for us. So we teens, what we do is we tend to modify our speech, we tend to talk like our friends, we try to think like our friends, we sometimes even have dressing sense like our friends, right? Say if somebody is dressing up in a way that you really like, even you will dress up in that way so that you feel accepted, right? And we even do activities that will become that make us become more similar to our own friends. So we do all of these things with our friends. That is what is I that's why our identity is formed at this particular age, right? And when there is similarity between the group, right, among the group, what happens it provides us a sense of security, right? It makes us feel belonged, it makes us feel secure, right? And that is what the developmental theorist, this Erik Erikson psychologist, who spoke about. It's one of the most important step. That is why it's called identity versus identity confusion. We do have all of this because we tend to enact what our friends are doing, and this is where our stage is formed for our adulthood. say now let's look at your friends telling you something, and say like how your friends call you, say, loser for something, or they shame you for your how you look, or how you dress up. This becomes like a inner dialogue in our life, like how this it says that I guess I'm a loser, like everyone keeps telling me I will fail. This happens to us, right? A lot of times when our friends are shaming us, or they're telling us what to, they're actually teasing us, and they like there is something called as now on online, where everybody makes memes of everybody, and there's cyberbullying happening. And when they do all of that, it becomes our inner dialogue. We all have this inner dialogue, which I mean by self talk. This self talk becomes our talk then, because we believe what our friends are pressurizing us into, right? And that dialogue becomes our, like as I said, the stage of our life, right? And it can even be like, maybe my friends are right, I have become more chubby and I should stop eating. And our behavior or our relationship with food completely changes. As we grow older, we will not want to eat food. We will say, okay, I'm going to avoid eating this. I will exercise more. I will stop eating this. But to have a balance of everything. But when our identity at this stage is formed that, okay, I should not be eating, by not eating you're going to form more distresses in your life, right? And while eating is the most important part of our lives, it will become one of your most biggest enemy. Why? Because your friends were trying to tell you something and you started believing that. So that is why, when our identity formation is so important, it's so important to to hang out with friends who support us, who value us, so that our inner dialogues are also what we value ourselves. Somebody who lets you be you, somebody who lets you want to do what you want to do and not tell you otherwise, right? Now, as it even discusses about how what happens at this stage usually is, we discuss so much about why is this stage important. We discussed about why is peer influence so important, why is it supposed to be positive influence, because your friends are supposed to lift you up, right? And as we discussed, our peers are somebody, they develop these narratives for us. Now, the narratives are, again, as I discussed in the previous slide, that they are these inner dialogues that become a part of our lives, and they carry on till we are adults, right? Sometimes it will carry till we are adults, or you have different set of friends who help you to get over that fact and help you to build confidence within yourselves. So that inner dialogue starts playing everywhere, everything that you want to do in life. Say you want to pursue something after 12th standard or after 10th standard, but you will not do it, thinking that no, I will fail, I will, maybe I'm a loser, as my friends call me. And that dialogue starts affecting us so much that that distress begins. And with that distress, can it can make you anxious, it can make you feel so low about yourself, you'll not want to feel like doing anything, your confidence will actually start dipping, right? And what else happens in turn? Our self-esteem goes down. As I discussed, our dialogues, for it becomes like a stage to this adulthood, right? So what can we do during this stage? What do you think at this stage can we do for our friends? We can be kind to each other, right? We can be, because everybody comes with different traits, different strengths. Everyone is unique, right? And you must have been told these so many times that you're unique and you have your own strengths. And to believe the strengths is when can you start believing your strengths? When you start believing that, when you start hanging out with friends who believe in you and who let you be you, right? And we all have these unique qualities among ourselves that we never thought that we could have. Like, when I was in school, I'll give you an example. When I was in school, my studies were not always good. I was, my maths was not always good. My science was not always good. And I always thought what could be the thing that I could do. I knew how to talk to people. I would want to listen to them. So I pursued psychology, and that helped me to be who I am today, right? So everybody has these unique strengths and unique qualities that you can figure out and explore with your friends, with your teachers, with your parents. Sit with them, talk to them, Communicate with them what you feel, to share your feelings with your parents and teachers, because they will always guide you to, to a better stage of life. They'll always guide you for the betterment of your life, right? And with these strengths, once you know them, you will want to explore those strengths more. And with those strengths, you can then choose what you want to do, right? Because everybody here who's there, everybody has a unique quality that our other one maybe doesn't have, right? So to believe in who we are, right? And to even have friends who actually motivate us to do better instead of the ones who make you question your own self, right? There are some times when, as we have been discussing for these the entire session, that our friends make us, sometimes not believe our own selves. They make us question ourselves. Is it, am I the wrong one here? Do I think that this value is not needed? Or, if I'm not choosing commerce and I'm choosing something else, am I going to be unsuccessful? They make you question your own self, right? But the friends who motivate you to do better, friends who give you constructive feedback when you're wrong, are the type of friends that you can choose, so that they can help you with this identity formation stage, because even they are going through the same thing. Okay. Coming back to a little bit about parents as well. I know there are some parents in this session as well. We can discuss a little bit about what can we do with our teens at this stage, right? Now, using harsh punishments like hitting the child, or or by creating fear in them, it can cause resentment towards you. So a lot of times, we're also frustrated with our own work, or there's some other problem going on in our lives as well, right? In our life as well, right? And what do? We end up sometimes hitting our child, or we create this fear in them, so that causes them to resent you, that causes them to, okay, now from now on I will not share anything with my parents, because they start getting scared that if I share this, I'm going to end up in trouble, right? So that's why they cause this resentment and they start drifting apart, right? Now, second is something so important, to preach what we teach also, to have, say, maybe a mobile free zone at home, where you can connect with your own child. You can have, like I say, dining table area, or somewhere in this area at home, where the mobiles can be kept in one basket, and said, let's talk about your day, let's talk about how our day was. And the more we practice, and the more your children will also practice, because children actually are like sponges, they pick up everything on their way as we show them. They end up copying us. And that's something that even we need to practice, so that even they inculcate that in their lives as well, right? And now, to have an open, and to create this safe space for conversations with teenagers. It's so important to create this, a very safe place where they can come and share their thoughts or their feelings. The moment we start, ridiculing them, or we start questioning them, and questioning them with, that, this is not, you're supposed to do like this, or say if they want to choose some other career and you are interested in some other career, and they start fearing that, will can I go and share this with my parents, will they not like it? But to have this safe space for children where they can come and share their thoughts with you, right? And this stage, as I've been discussing, it's a stage where it's going to be, they're going through psychological changes, they're going through physical changes, their hormones are changing, their hormones are fluctuating. So they are bound to have, they will argue with you for different values that they have at this stage. They'll end up telling you कि नहीं mom, इस generation में ये नहीं होता, आपके generation में होता होगा. And there's so much of argument in the house that takes place with the teenager and the parent. But to maybe bring out, to bring in a middle ground where both of you can discuss values, and to maybe tell the children that how values can be discussed, if I come from here, you come from here, and how we can respect each other's value, right? Because it's so important to remember that this is their stage where their identity is getting formed, which helps them to then take their lives forward, right? To even set boundaries with your own children, so important. This is such an important point. To when you say no to certain things, It's important to lay your ground there and say, you know what, it's no means no, and not to become too lenient. Obviously, yes, because every parent has a different style of parenting, but not to become so lenient that they start taking us for granted. And to avoid if and then technique, a lot of times we end up telling our children that, if you do this, then I will give you a phone. If you score 90%, I will give you the latest iPhone. If you score this, I will do that. If you behave well, I will set this in your room. And if and then technique just helps them to understand only by doing something there is a reward there, right? And that thing, what helps them, what in turn helps them to understand is in life that they will keep doing things, and if they do not receive it, they are going to start, feeling low in confidence. So to avoid the if and then technique, it's so important to know to have a boundary there as well, right? But as I said, to not be too lenient but not so strict that they start feeling hesitant, they start feeling they feel hesitant to come and speak to you. And to create that safe space where you can they can trust you, you can trust them, and to form this place where both of you can come and share your thoughts and values, and to even tell the children that how respecting each and everybody's thought and values are so important, because in turn they will also go back and respect their peers, value their peers as well. So these were some points for parents. Even teachers can follow these things, like having an open conversation with the teenagers that can help them to understand what are the teenagers going through. And I agree they get aggressive, but to even channelize their anger in a better form, to maybe sit with them and talk about how anger can affect somebody. Being angry is not a wrong thing, but channelizing your anger by hitting someone or by yelling at someone is something which is wrong, right? But to have different means where you can, we can teach them to meditate, or maybe some physical exercise, or things like, when you're angry, to step out of that place, step out of that room, and then talk to that person. Can these small things can help them to channelize their anger as well. Okay, so I think that is what today's session was about, peer influence. And as Oprah Winfrey, a very famous person, said that a true friend will accept you for who you are, but it also helps you who you should become, right? And this is when, if you keep this in mind, you'll always choose right friends. And you'll always choose friends who will motivate and influence and inspire you, rather than somebody who shames you or does not value you. Okay, so as you all know that I am a mental health counselor, and the services that are provided by Safe Space is counseling services. We can have one-on-one sessions with children. We even have emotional well-being workshops like these, and we even have career guidance where we can teach, where we can sit with your children to understand what career they can choose. There are different
Hi,
psychometric
Dimple.
tests.
Just like, sorry to just
Sorry.
sorry to cut you in there. Like,
Yes.
we've already have had questions coming in from,
Sure.
from parents, teachers, and educators. So, like, we can have, maybe we can put down the slide for now and we can just get into a conversation. You
Sure.
can stop the screen share.
Yeah. 1 second. Give me 1 second, Anita. Yes. Hi.
First of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking our time and and giving us a proper walkthrough. I think there are a lot of takeaways for students from today's session, and also, like, I think it's extremely important because we are living in such a heavily influenced world today to understand what is peer pressure and where is it exactly stemming from. What I wanted to understand, like, our very first question is about it's very generic. So what one of the parents have asked us is that there are so many times where it becomes, where it is difficult to avoid comparison that kids do on their own, which is not even like it's not something that has been initiated by them. That's because children are looking at their peers, they're looking at their ranks, they're looking at the grades that they're getting, the fact that somebody is winning in a sports competition and they are not getting to win, and and stuff like that. So in this, is there, what the parents are saying is that even if they avoid, sometimes children by themselves get influenced at very tender ages, especially like, for those who are in sixth standard or seventh standard. Is there something that you think that can be done to help them overcome this, to help their minds be at ease?
I think this is one of the very important questions. Thank you for asking that. Children do compare themselves with their own peers, right? To see that, okay, yes, sports mein acha hai, and I couldn't do this. I'm good. This person is so good in maths, and I'm not good in maths. But to remind your kids and play with their strengths, because every kid will have that one, two strengths that you can play with them. You can build that strength and tell them, that how if one is good in maths and how you can be you're good in science, or you are good in speaking, you are so brilliant in debate competitions, or so you're such a well reader. So to to play with their strengths, to motivate them with their strengths, and to polish those strengths, and to remind them that how our fingers also have different roles to play in life. Our physical body is also like that. So even for every person in this class, or in this today that they've come here, everybody is going to have different strengths, and to make the kids believe that, and then polish those strengths. And every time they compare themselves, to remind them that somebody would like sunset, somebody would like sunrises, but both are two beautiful things on this planet, right? So to play with those strengths, and maybe sit with them and tell them how all of us are different beings, and even give your example if that has to happen.
There's also one more question that we got. This is from like, to understand from an educator's point of view that, also peer pressure develops very organically, like they're also consuming a lot of content. Um, how is it that, so they are sometimes imitating there's a direct imitation. We don't know what the child's strengths are. And sometimes children are not proud of their strengths. If they think that, sports is cooler than reading.
It's more
You
cooler
know,
than reading.
yeah, something like that. Like it gives them more fame than reading does, or like, or for some children who believe that, like not maths is just not a very cool thing to get into. Like, it's just what their own perceptions of pop culture is, which is sort of influencing their mind. So is there a way that educators can help children navigate this?
There is something which is the pop culture is coming in, and we are so influenced by the content that we're consuming every day by the internet, right? And it is difficult to you for us not to compare that, okay, sports is a cooler thing and reading is not, right? Why do we think that? Because we all have formed these notions already. Reading is not a good thing, sports is a cool thing, and only becoming a doctor will bring me a lot of success or a lot of money in our lives. But to have, now, as the pop culture is also coming in, to know that, first there was no YouTubers, there were no influencers in this world, but now there are different careers that are coming up, right? So there is no such, we all think it's a cool thing because everybody defines that it's a cool thing. But trust me that there's nothing called one particular thing a cooler thing. Everybody has these traits that we can play with it. Like I gave you an example, right? I was never good in school in studies in maths or science, and I always thought ki how after maths and science is our main subjects, right? Math, science, history, geography, and well, what do you do after that? But yeah, I slowly and steadily, when I realized that I was good in speaking, I had teachers who supported me to understand what career I could choose, and that helped me to go forward. So to know that teachers can also play like that with their students.
So, when we designed practically, the whole idea was that, STEM subjects, are supposed to be really like hip and very complicated. And, people believe that science, maths, and engineering is, I mean, it's of course looked up as something like a big feat in India, like a person is
Yeah.
who understands artificial intelligence and robotics and learns to code and all of that. But what we did was we tried to make it accessible for everyone, and that has been like the biggest USP of the learning platform. That so even the learning lobby, for instance, every initiative that has been taken is to be able to make people play on strengths, to make children play on strengths, to for them to understand that the kind of strength that they have is extremely different than what somebody else would have had. But also at the same time, it is not negligent. Like anyone who comes on the app today will have the same range of, like, there's a study buddy, or there are augmented reality experiences. So for all minds alike, it has been developed to help them retain their subjects well. There is no like there is no one person is getting it and the other is not. It's simplified to the T. So I just feel like platforms like these today are going to sort of help democratize a lot of learning, which earlier just stayed between a student and his book, as much as he could take in. And I think something like what we understood was that fun and play and games can really lighten up the atmosphere for everyone. Like you're not just putting them in a mode where they're competing against each other to answer questions rapidly or something. You're giving them something which is a lot more fun. So they are enjoying themselves, they're learning, and they're not just getting, so they're taking it in. So is there a take that you have that like as time passes, sports or learning or augmented reality or apps are going to play such an important role in the overall development of a child's mind? It's not just about getting them to master a subject, it's also getting them to develop the skills to enjoy a subject.
you know um as you mentioned, it's so nice that practically is come up with things that you can learn with your own pace, which is, I think, so important, right? Sometimes in class there's something going and you may feel sabse piche, like I didn't understand that, but to have a platform where they actually play with your own pace is something I think a child can learn so much. And I believe activities kahin bhi karwa lo, kids are going to be, even adults, we are always very excited and learn something more when there are activities involved. And if practically is doing that, it's a brilliant initiative, I think, because as I always keep telling children when I meet them, how we remember songs, right? Because we remember the whole song. Why? Because it's so fun. But if learning can be fun like that, I think it's a brilliant way to sit with children, and they can actually sit with themselves to learn things like that, which is really, really cool. I can't hear you, Vinita. You're
Sorry.
unmuted.
Okay, sorry. I think that really helps. I think this perspective by itself really helps. But even then, there's a quick disclaimer that I'd like to give all the parents and everyone who's watching, that if you feel like you've tried everything, like, and still if your children are getting very influenced by peer pressure, or do you think they're getting bullied, or you think they've become very quiet, or they're showing signs of, changes in their behavior, please do consult a professional therapist officially. And this platform is of course more educational by nature, but and the tips and all given here are extremely helpful, very generic, but also at the same time, for those who are going through a certain turmoil, it's much better to seek help rather than think that maybe they'll never, rather than looking at it as a cobweb.
Yeah.
So today, thank you so much. I think, Dimple, we can end our session here. If we have more questions coming our way, we will definitely send it across to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking our time today. Any last words that you'd like to share with us before you sign off?
I'm so glad that I got this initiative and I could come and speak to all of you here, and to remember that friends are the ones who actually push us to do better, and not the ones who constantly nag us or shame us. And once you know the differentiation, life gets a little more better. And as Vinita said, to reach out to someone professionally who can help the children more, there's no harm in asking help at all. We do go to doctors, right, to ask for help. So likewise, and children do benefit a lot from support when, if you can do that for them. That's all. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye bye.